journal over time. There is something else. I've just gotta look at my notes for a second. Is it in the bad parenting section or in the other thing? Okay, I have another section about
or in the worst parenting section.
I have my John's journal notes. There's the like Sam's freaky childhood stuff. I also have characters to keep track of people who know John. John, like inconsistencies, things that are corroborated by John's journal that happened in the show. Bad parenting things, which is obviously the largest of the sections.
Yeah.
And then other things about Mary's death. So other things about Mary's death. There's something significant about the numbers 1127. John finds it on a hellhound tooth, like carved into a tooth. Mary died at 1127. There's a Devil's Gate in Hope, Colorado, Cemetery 112, Zone 7. But I feel like there was something else about Sam specifically. I mean, there's the Striga incident from the first season.
Yeah, that's something to remark upon.
Dean starts concealed carrying at age 11.
As you do. It's two different reactions.
The deer incident. Sam learning to drive at age 9.
Wow, I still can't drive and I'm in my 20s.
Yeah, when Sam turned 16, John was like, well, he can drive now. I mean, he's been able to drive since he was 9, but now he has a driver's license.
Yeah.
Now he can drive legally.
Exactly.
God.
Ugh.
Literally, how would he even reach the pedals at 9?
Literally.
Especially because it's a bench seat.
I have a nephew who is very tall. He's in like the 90th percentile for his age group in terms of height. He could not reach the gas or the brakes. All I can imagine is just like he would have to wear weird shoes or just slide all the way down.
He could do what that kid in Indiana Jones did and just tie like little mini crates to his feet.
Yeah, he'd have to do that.
Sam should only be driving in an extreme emergency situation.
Yeah.
He probably had to.
That would be very common.
Child.
I mean, I think being raised by John counts as an extreme emergency situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, true. The other
Just
thing is
most of the
that
time.
the Impala has a bench seat. So if you put the seat up far enough that someone with short little legs can reach the pedals, that means whoever else is sitting in the front has no leg room.
Poor Dean just crouched up there.
I mean, it's probably John though,
sit in the
because
back
John
and
is
stretch
the
out.
adult at this point. Like, if Sam's 9, Dean's 13, and John's like a grown man.
Yeah.
Which is,
Just
if Sam's
imagine-
learning to drive, I would hope that John's in the front seat.
I'm just imagining
I
like
don't know.
Dean in the front seat and he's got his knees up in his chest and he's like, okay, now grab the stick.
Yeah. Wait, do you guys know apparently the Impala is not stick shift?
It's not.
It's
Really?
automatic.
It's automatic.
It's
I didn't know
automatic.
that.
And also, yeah. And what was
Of
the
course
other thing?
KJ knows that. Like, they know everything.
It's true. KJ does know everything. Yes, look
Yeah.
at all the notes, all these properly organized notes. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I remember when I had to learn to drive, there were certain adults in my life where I preferred them to be in the car with me because like my parents would just yell, and they're very calm people, but it is a car, you know? So they would be like, "Man, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Clearly I don't know what I'm doing. You gotta tell me what I'm doing
You're
wrong
here
here."
to teach me what to do.
Now I'm just envisioning Sam just being like to his teenage brother, like his preteen brother, like, "Can you show me how to drive the car again?"
Don't let dad do it. Don't let him know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dad's gonna yell. You're not gonna yell.
I'm sure Dean was a more patient teacher. Sam's childhood basically ends when he turns 18. John is surprised that Sam doesn't just run away. You're not supposed to be surprised like that your children don't run away from you the second they're old enough to. Your children are supposed to, I mean, they're supposed to grow up and leave you, but
It's pretty natural. Yeah.
it shouldn't be described as running away. And if your child is running away, that shouldn't be a shock to you. You've clearly, and if you know, if it's a surprise that they aren't running away, that means you know that you're doing wrong.
Exactly.
You know that you've provided an environment that your child would like to escape from, and
Just runs away and goes to school, that deadbeat.
maybe we'll talk a little bit about Sam and Dean's like collective childhood, like outside of the demon stuff, just the bad parenting stuff, because why not? We all hate John Winchester.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually really interesting too. I was just talking about that on another podcast. We were looking at Dream a Little Dream of Me, but I feel like it's always interesting when one of them brings up their childhood, and also it's happened a few other times throughout the series, right? Where like Dean will say like, oh, John doted on Sam, he didn't care about you. But then we've had other times where Sam has been like, oh, John and Dean always went off hunting together. They never shared that information with me. So it's like so interesting because it's like, oh, it's like John abused them in like different ways, but I feel like I don't even know if his brain would have like purposefully coordinated it or what was going on, but he also did it in such a way that pitted them against each other too.
Yeah.
It is very much that. I think it's part of it is that he can't stop comparing them to each other, and he can't stop comparing them to himself or to Mary at all times. It's so evident in this journal. This journal is written from John's perspective, and like every time either of them do something, it's always compared to what John was like at that age, what Mary was like. If it's Sam, what Dean was like at that age, like always. And I think that's part of it is like he's creating this competition, and also John doesn't have he doesn't have any affection to go around. So what little there is and what little attention he has, like they're in competition for, because they both require attention because they're both children.
Yeah.
I know we're talking about bad parenting, but I actually had a couple of thoughts about like comparing the Winchesters from like a storytelling perspective.
Go for it.
Before recording, I had this thought that Sam is kind of like a mythological hero because like he's special from birth and like destined for greatness, you know, like Heracles or King Arthur or Galahad. He's not chosen because of like his skills. He's chosen because of what he is and what they made him into at birth. And, you know, later in the show, we discover that Dean has a destiny, but it's not evident like as early. So there's nothing that sets him apart from regular people except his life experience. So he's more like Robin Hood. Like his nature isn't as important. It's what he can do that sets him apart. And I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, they both have this like chosen from birth destiny, but like Sam's is pushed in seasons 1 through 3, whereas Dean's is not revealed till season 4. Like it's revealed he has had this whole time, but we didn't know about it. And I think that's the big difference.
Yeah, I think like looking at that in these early seasons is very interesting because in the early seasons it feels like they're two different types of traditional heroes.
Yeah.
And that's also interesting too. I feel like in some episodes, especially early, like Faith, I think is kind of one example. And then especially Houses of the Holy, I think we get these moments where Sam has like these moments of faith, yes, but I also think, and also like a lot of the special children stuff about, you know, becoming evil. I think part of that is he almost has this complex where he's destined for greatness, and that's why these things have to happen, whether it's good or bad. It's like these things with huge weight have to happen, whereas Dean, even when like everything is revealed in season 4, he still like staunchly rejects all of that.
Yeah, like Dean is Sam is more aware of his destiny and he accepts it more, and he accepts that like things have a plan, where, as you mentioned, Dean rejects that and he lets things happen as they happen.
Yeah, we did just talk a lot about Sam and like the impact of demons interfering directly with Sam Winchester's life, but like the thing is that Sam and Dean are always together in childhood, and they're both being raised by John. So we're going to talk about John's bad parenting for a bit as well, keeping in mind that demons are constantly interfering with their lives, like beyond just like John is out there hunting monsters, like demons are actively watching them and trying to sway Sam, and they don't even always know until later.
Actually, I'm glad that we were back to talking about John Winchester, because I have to say something. I just, like you mentioned before, right? Like some stuff with John Winchester's journal, you have to take with a grain of salt, because some things don't always line up. But I do remember near the end of season 8, right? Sam is talking about doing all the trials to close the gates of hell, and that it might kill him, but he's like okay with it. And he's talking about how he's always had the impression that there was something wrong with him, even as a little kid.
Love that scene.
And I know, like, you know, if we're looking at all these experiences with John, you know, and demons being after Sam, like, sure, that could have been the issue. But we all know the real issue was John was looking at Sam like there's something wrong with him, and probably acting accordingly and putting this into his head.
Well, yeah, here's the thing is like Sam's 7 and 8 years old, like in 1991. Sam,
Mhm.
like with that whole like month of April where all this stuff was going down with Mrs. Lyle and Silas and all that. That's when John hears Sam's special for the first time. Like that's when the special children stuff gets rooted for John. When Sam's a little kid, he's like, he's in denial about it. He's like, my son is 7 years old. He's just a little boy. He's a sweet little boy. He wouldn't hurt anyone. I don't know what all these people are talking about, but like at the same time,
Yeah.
no, that is like the clip that Jen was just talking about. That's at the end of season 8. Not to praise Andrew Dabb, but some of the best writing for Sam and everybody involved in that scene just did a great job.
Like John.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, let's go through. I have a timeline on John's bad parenting. So to start right back at November 16th, 1983, 2 weeks after Mary's death, John skips Mary's funeral, doesn't care what her family has to say about it. He's too drunk anyway, so deal with them. Keep in mind, he's sole caretaker for his 2 young children, including Sam, who is 6 months old. He's too drunk to deal with her family, let alone take care of these 2 children.
That just makes me think that like her family must not have cared about the boys very much because they knew that this man was too drunk to attend his wife's funeral and now he is the only guardian of these kids. Like someone, again, we say this so many times, someone should have done something.
Please care. Yeah, this episode's going to be coming out in August before the start of the Winchesters. I'm very excited to learn a little bit more about John and Mary's families and like what the deal is with them because they are not around at the in 1983, and I would like to just know what the reason is, if there is a reason for that. Because my impression so far is that I'm a Millie Winchester stan, and I would just like to know why Millie Winchester's not here, like collecting her grandchildren.
Sure.
But she's not, so John's just getting drunk. November 20th is when Dean sees John behead that shapeshifter outside of the roadhouse. Dean just like comes out into the parking lot at a bad moment.
Fond memories.
John's known about the supernatural stuff for 4 days, and now Dean's watching him behead monsters. It's fine. The next day, John leaves his kids with people overnight for the first time. He's already assigned Sam's care over to Dean. He's just like, I'm pretty sure it's Ellen's niece, and he like just met Ellen the day before. Like, he's like, oh, okay, I've just met you. You're into the whole hunting thing. Your husband's a hunter. Oh, you have a niece who can watch my kids overnight while we go hunting? Cool. And
I just had this weird like Call Me Maybe parody in my head. Like, hey, I just met you and this is crazy, but here's my children, so take them with me.
December 11th, John mentions that Sam and Dean are co-sleeping. Sam is less than a year old and Dean is 4. That's not proper sleep safety for infants.
Nope.
We're just gonna go. There's a lot of drinking and just unsafe parenting happening.
That's not surprising. It's just shocking.
January 24th, 1984, Dean's 5th birthday. Keep in mind, 5th birthday. He is 5. John's talking about him maybe learning to field strip the guns. He has a quote talent for guns.
Oh
no 5-year-old should have a talent for guns. It's not a thing a 5-year-old should have any experience with.
Maybe water guns, but I doubt they had any of those as kids.
The next year, John keeps Dean out of school for an additional year. So Dean's now 6 and he like has not started school.
Wow.
He probably can barely read.
And John has instead started teaching him about monsters. Then it's November 14th, 1985. John views Dean emotionally supporting him as a sign that Dean should be treated as an adult. He's like about to turn 6. So
Oh my god.
obviously.
He is a baby. Treat him like one.
Literally.
And so John takes him shooting, like just like bottles or whatever.
No.
But he's now moved from cleaning the weapons and like assembling them to shooting them because, you know, emotional maturity at the age of 6 has just surpassed John already.
I'm gonna say my other nephew is 6. I would not do that with a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
you wouldn't let a 6-year-old near a gun, and you also wouldn't view a 6-year-old as like someone who could emotionally support you as an adult.
My nephew's current big dilemma in his life right now is deciding if he's still going to continue liking vanilla ice cream the most or if he wants chocolate ice cream for his birthday.
Vanilla.
So that's like, exactly, but like that's what's happening there in real life.
It's good. I don't know a lot of 6-year-olds, so it is good to know like what's up with the kid. Know that I'm not unrealistic for thinking that this is insanity.
Yeah, just
Yeah, no, it's just-
contextualize this. for the children.
It's even worse now because I hang out with them like at least once a week. I love them, but it's just like, oh my God.
September 5th, 1986, Dean finally starts going to school. However, he won't go to school every morning unless John absolutely promises that he will take good care of Sam.
No.
John is their father.
Oh my
This should
God.
be the other way around. You should make sure the sibling takes good care of the kid while the parent is gone for like a few hours. And maybe not at these ages.
He's literally like, Dad, I prepped Sam's lunch. It's in the fridge. You know, are you going to make sure he needs to brush his teeth? He needs to be up at this time. Oh my God.
Make sure he doesn't get in the car with any strangers. Walk him to the bus.
July 13th, 1987, Dean's moral compass surpasses John's in the hunting.